Today I fucked up by taking a new dose of ADHD medication and trying to entertain my family. Today I fucked up. Yes, today. Just now. I am still trying to manage the consequences of my actions. I have been on ADHD medication for 7 years now. I usually change back and forth between different meds yearly, or I'll stop taking them for months at a time. For the past couple months, I've been taking Vyvanse daily in order to be productive during the COVID-19 lockdown. This has been going very well and has made me very productive and hardworking, which I love. My issue is, I've gotten used to the dosage I was taking and went to the next higher dosage today. My issue with any ADHD med is that when it wears off hard. I go from being composed, focused, and hardworking, to a hyper-energetic, easily distracted, closest you can get to being a crackhead without smoking crack shithead. I started crashing hard by inspecting each of my family members for blackheads for 30 minutes. This somehow ended up in the kitchen, where I was staring at my mom's neck looking for blemishes. We were all chatting, and I ended up next to my brother. For years, he's been able to fart on command. He says, "Do you hear that?" then rips ass sort of thing. I have never been able to do this, but I figured today was the day I would. I rest my arms on the counter and look up at him. "Hey, do you hear that?" Nothing. I try and try. I know something is leaving the South Pole within the next 10 seconds. Something did leave the South Pole. It was not a gas like I'd intended. It was a solid, a squishy solid. My eyes widened. My normal mind knew what I had just done was horrifically embarrassing. My crackhead mind, which was leading at the moment, decided to announce what had happened. It started with a light chuckle that turned into full-blown laughter. Final thing I said to my family through laughter before waddling upstairs like a penguin incubating an egg was, "Well, I'm gonna take my leave now, seeing as I've gone and shit myself." Too long didn't read. I became very hyper after a new dosage of ADHD medication wore off. Tried to make my brother laugh by farting on command, but instead just shit myself in the kitchen. Edit, forgot a few words. Hitting yourself really brings you back to when you were 1. Edit 2, I brought this up to my mother by saying I posted anonymously about the incident last night on Reddit. She goes, "What incident, Mom?" "I shit my pants." "You seriously shit your pants?" "I thought you were joking." Fuck it, reset the shit themselves clock. Already done. I had a few years under my belt. Last time was when I had a nasty flu. I regret trying to make my brother laugh. Username checks out. Ha ha ha, that final quote. On a serious note, how do you come to terms with the crash? Can't suffer it, it freaks me the fuck out and has for years, and I just find myself being totally unreceptive to the medication. My crashes start as severe hyperactivity. It's very hard to control, but if you do get the same hyperactivity, I'd recommend doing some mindfulness exercises and breathing exercises to try to calm down. Also, if I take my Vyvanse, 50 milligrams now, at before 9 AM, I'll start crashing by like 3 PM, in which case I have a low dose of Ritalin, 5 milligrams, as a pick-me-up, which wears off around bedtime. This is pure brown gold, made my day. Well, technically it's pure shit. LOL, thank you for sharing. Thank you for shouting. Today I fucked up by fighting my cousin, putting him in the hospital, and going to get sued by them. For some more context before this story, I recently split up my family somehow by saving my grandpa and breaking things in his body. Link to other post. Anyways, this morning I was waiting outside the hospital and asked the doctor to come outside to tell me how he's doing, but instead my grandma came. She tells me he's doing fine but is having some back pains and having trouble moving. She went back inside and I continued to wait. My parents were also here, but only my mom was with me since this was my dad's father. About 30 minutes after my grandma went back inside, my cousin, same cousin who tried to fight me and the uncle too, came over to see how he's doing. As soon as they saw me, They came over and gave me some shit. I tried to ignore them, and it sort of worked. My uncle went inside, as he was my dad's brother and wanted to see my grandpa. Right when my uncle walked in, my cousin, who is a year older than me, came over and tried to get in my face. I told him to knock it off, but he didn't, and I noticed at that point he was getting ready to punch me. I'm a pretty big dude and he is a couple inches smaller than me. A fight ensues and I have the upper hand. Nearing the end of the fight, he's getting weaker, and I try and back off, which he takes as a sign to go full-blown batshit crazy. I defend and get him on the ground and he goes ballistic and started screaming in pain. My mom and I rush him inside for some help. The rest of it is fuzzy, but I later heard I broke something in his right arm, and all of that family has blocked me on everything and are planning on suing me. Funny thing is, my grandpa is a lawyer and he has told me stories of some of the cases he took, so I'm thinking they are crazy for this, but I'm still annoyed I'll have to do all that legal work. My grandpa is doing better as of now, but still in some pain. Too long didn't read. Cousin fights over me saving my grandpa and I break his bone and gonna get sued. Edit. For those who are asking, I did break his ribs, I just didn't find it necessary to put that in since he is so old and many of you guys seem to also be familiar with CPR and the Heimlich maneuver. You know, I'm seeing a pattern on their toxic behavior that I have seen in people. Can I ask, is that uncle and cousin well off as compared to your family? Be warned that they are acting like they are standing up for your grandparents in front of other family members and will blame your family for every other transgression. Are they cozying up to your grandparents, as I suspect that your grandparents are old and they are trying to slowly influence them in their will? Make sure your grandparents set it up early and leave no room for contest. This is all tragic and I'm sorry, but I am secretly waiting for part 3 to find out which family member you hospitalize next. Today I fucked up by accidentally hospitalizing my lawyer and getting sued by both my cousin and lawyer. I read both your posts and your family is fucking crazy, dude. Mistakes happen. Ignore all the hate and just focus on being there for your grandpa. If their main concern was your grandfather, they should show it. But instead they sure are expending a lot of energy and time trying to make your life shitty for an honest mistake. I said this in a comment in the other post, but this isn't the first time they fought me over something that didn't make sense. Any chance the hospital would have CCTV of it? In which case, you might be off the hook. You could also have him charged with assault. You were defending yourself. If you get him charged, it will look better on you if they decide to sue, because you have a police report as evidence. Get a lawyer. Your family is a dumpster fire. Today I fucked up by walking into the wrong house during an install. To preface this, I work for Geek Squad as a home theater installer. We were doing a pre-wire for a surround sound and I went to grab the tools and everything from our van. The only place to park was between two houses in a sort of narrow cul-de-sac, and both houses had a nearly identical architecture. After grabbing all of the tools, I walked back to the home that I thought I had just left. So without knocking, I walk right through the front door that was unlocked and start walking down the stairs to their basement when I realize that none of this looks familiar anymore, and it begins to dawn on me that this is not the same house. Suddenly, I hear a scream and turn to look, and an elderly woman in her 60s is staring at me, completely terrified. The weather is in the 30s, so I was wearing a jacket over my Geek Squad uniform, so all this poor woman saw was a man wearing a heavy jacket and mask, carrying a ladder and hammer, and walking up from her basement. I'm obviously at a loss for words, as I have never done anything this stupid before. Luckily, she gave me a chance to explain myself, so I regained my composure and told her what had happened, and we shared a good laugh about it before I sheepishly left and went back to the right house. Too long didn't read. I left one house to grab tools during an install and walked into the wrong house, terrifying the homeowner. After explaining, we shared a good laugh and nothing bad happened. My wife has low vision. I have a silver 4-door car. She was coming back from a quick stop in a little mall, and noticed another silver car, Chevy, versus my BMW. That driver was honking his horn at something. With her vision, she thought it was my car, and me being a jerk by honking. She got in that car by mistake and started giving the driver shit, all the while thinking it was me. He screamed in shock, and then so did she. Then laughter all around. I used to play badminton every Friday afternoon with some guys from work. I was waiting in the rain at my usual place for my friend to pick me up. He drove a brown Volvo, so when one pulled up where I was stood I jumped in, saying as I got in, "Glad you're here." I was getting soaked only to hear a petrified woman reply, "Who are you?" I just stammered, "Sorry, wrong car," and jumped out. Turns out it was her house I was stood outside of. Gave my mate something to laugh about when he pulled up a few minutes later. I work as a pet care provider. We have stories about these things. Walked into a home while someone was showering because none of the units were labeled and all the units had the same key. Thanks lazy landlords. Client didn't tell us they moved and we walked into people still asleep in their bed. They didn't wake up, we just booked it, and locked up behind us. Welcome to the club of accidental, well-intentioned home invasion. Friends were having a housewarming party. Running low on beer, so I did a quick beer run. Got back to their house, and made a quick dash to the bathroom. Sat the beer on the floor in the hallway as I jumped into the bathroom. Walked out to see two people staring at me. My friends bought the house next door. Wrong house. I heard the deadbolt thunk after I left. Smile. I bet she starts locking that door now. I bet you're right. Good thing she didn't have a heart attack. That would have been fun to explain. Absolutely. That would have been awful. I'm just glad she didn't have a gun, seeing as I live in the South.